All right, boys and girls, we're back. We are doing chapter 2, lesson 5. Today we're going to do pages 82 through 85. I'm going to start out with the vocabulary words for this chapter or this lesson. We have harpoon, clan, economy, barter, potlatch, kayak, and igloo. The lesson 5 title is The Northwest and the Arctic. Again, we're still talking about different Native Americans. And we're going to start out with you are there, second person point of view, because you, physically, you are imagining that you are here. Spring has finally come. For weeks, the village elders have been noting the wind's direction and watching the stars. They have decided that today is a good day to go hunting for a whale. The whale hunters will take the village's biggest canoes. The hunters will carry with them their longest, heaviest harpoons, a long spear with sharp shell points. If the hunt is a success, there will be singing and dancing to welcome the hunters home. So again, a harpoon is a long spear with a sharp shell point. They're using shells because they are on the coast. They're actually on the Pacific Ocean side of what is now current day United States. And so that is what was available, something sharp that they could put on the end as like the point, the puncture point of going into the whale. A region of plenty, page 83. The Northwest Coast, also known as the Pacific Northwest, stretched between the Pacific Ocean and the mountains to the east. It included parts of what are now Oregon, Washington, and western Canada. Cool ocean winds brought heavy rains to the region, so forests grew tall and thick. These forests and the rivers that ran through them were filled with fish and other animals. Again, different climate, different weather pattern, so they're using what they have in order to survive. Again, good fishing, also forest. The forest is going to provide nuts and things like that. So they're going to use what they can in order to harvest those things or keep those things in order to supply or in order to survive and eat. People of the Northwest Coast. Many Native American groups, such as the Kwakiutl, the Makah, and the Chinook, lived in this region. Instead of farming, the people of the Northwest Coast met their needs by fishing and hunting and by gathering plants and nuts. The coastal waters were an important resource, and salmon was a staple food for most groups. Again, we talked about salmon last time too, but salmon plentiful and it was good food. They knew how to catch them. They studied them. They were understood the process of salmon, and so that made really one of their staple foods, something that they ate a lot. Whales, yes, the whales. Whales were an important resource too. Whales supplied not only food but also fat, which could be melted into oil to burn in lamps. Most groups included the Kwakiutl, captured only whales that had become stranded on shore. In contrast, the Makah hunted whales at sea in large dugout canoes. These boats, each made from a large hollowed out log, carried up to 60 people. So whale hunting was kind of twofold. One, the meat off of them, they could eat it. Two, they started talking about using the fat and burning it down into an oil so that they could burn it. Again, back then, they didn't have electricity or anything like we have today. So at night, it was dark, like because it was really dark because there weren't street lights, there weren't other things going on. And so inside their homes, they had to burn an oil to have any light so that they could do things when it was dark. Whale oil provided that resource. And so that was something that was kind of very important to them to have that oil handy so that they could work at night. Otherwise, it would be pitch black and they wouldn't be able to do anything. So that was why that was important. Now, two things about these whale hunts. The different Native American groups, one of them waited if a whale got stranded on the beach. So if they came in the shore, I'm sorry, the The waves went out, it was low tide, and they got stuck. They would run out and basically kill the whale and keep it. That's how they did it. The other group, the macaws, they went out in a big giant canoe that held 60 people, and they actually hunted whales. Uh, I'm not for sure exactly how they got them in once they killed them out in the ocean, but obviously they did. So we'll try to find out some information on that. Resources and trade. The giant trees that grew in the forests of the northwest coast provided many groups with wood for houses, tools, and boats. Macaw villages stood near the Pacific Ocean, a common location for many Native American homes in the Pacific Northwest. The family shelters. The shelters of the Macaw were like those of the Iroquois, but larger. Macaw longhouses had a frame of wooden poles which could reach 60 feet in length. The walls and floors were covered with wide boards. All the members of a clan, or an extended family, a clan is an extended family, lived in the same longhouse. Grandparents, parents, aunts and uncles, and children all lived together. Each person in the clan had a specific rank. Clans made important decisions about village life. Clans also taught the younger members songs, stories, and wood carving skills. Wood was so useful to the people of the Northwest Coast that they made almost everything from it. Dishes, spoons, and other utensils were made of wood. They also carved totem poles made of wood. These tall posts usually showed one or more characters that were used to tell a story or to welcome visitors or traders. People traveled long distances on the region's waterways in order to trade. Trading was an important, I'm sorry, Trading was a large part of the region's economy. An economy is the way the people of a state, a region, or a country uses their resource to meet their needs. So again, the waterways were very important. Again, wood was a huge resource there. We learned earlier that it was because of the rains and everything, big forests, tall trees. So when they said that the longhouses could be up to 60 feet long, uh, they have bigger trees, taller trees. So that was easy for them to do because they could make these longhouses longer or bigger. More family members could live in these longhouses at the time. So they had an extended family. Before, it usually was just the parents and kids, sometimes the grandparents. But now they're adding in aunts and uncles and other people. Why? Because their houses were bigger. They had room for them. So they build one house, host everybody. The waterways also allowed them to travel from place to place easily because they could ride it in their canoes or their boats and go downstream, upstream, etc., which allowed them to trade. Again, they were going places to trade what they had for other things that they needed. Uh, so that's what they did. Now, one other new thing that they started talking about is totem poles. Totem poles are basically trees that they carve images and things in. They can be used for a bunch of different ways. One would be to tell stories, so each picture on the totem pole could be progressing in the plot to tell a story. The other thing is they had different signs that could be welcoming signs. So if a trader was coming near them, the trader could see this sign on the totem pole and it would either say, yes, we want to trade, or there might have been a warning sign telling them to stay away. The Dallies. The best known traders among the Northwest Coast Native Americans were the Chinook. The Chinook lived at the mouth of the Columbia River, which they controlled from the coast all the way to the Dallies about 200 miles away upriver. The Dalles was a center of the trade network because many groups gathered there, but the different languages they spoke made communication difficult. The Chinook were able to profit from trading at the Dalles because they developed a unique language for trade. It was made up of Chinook words as well as words borrowed from other Native American languages. This language allowed them to barter or exchange goods on behalf of two groups who spoke very different languages. So again, now they're coming together to trade. It was difficult because of all the different languages. So they came up with words that all of them could use in order to trade and barter. Now, sometimes what they're saying barter is basically they're saying exchanging goods. Um, they're coming up with an agreement of one group trading with another group and what they're trading and what they're getting back. For example, if I have a bunch of nuts and I need some corn, they come up with an agreement of how many nuts do I have to give you for how many ears of corn. That's the barter. That is the exchange. They have to agree on that before they do it. Last but not least today, a potlatch. Trade in natural resources made many Trade in natural resources made many Northwest coast groups rich. One way they expressed their good fortune was through a celebration known as a potlatch. A potlatch was meant to show wealth and divide property among the people. Potlatch means to give. Historians think the Kwakiutl, who lived along the coast of what is now Canada, helped develop the potlatch custom. The Kwakiutl potlatch was a celebration with dancing, food, and speeches. So a potlatch was a celebration um, to give thanks. Thanks for their goodwill and the things that they looked. One thing that I would like you all to do today before you go, I would like you all to look at all the pictures on pages 82 through 85, just to try to get an idea of different things that they talk about in the chapter. And that's all I have for you today.